All right, thank you again for staying with us on the program TMI on the ITV network. Well, as we look forward to the handover date of the Governor Godwin Obaseki's administration to an administration that will be led by Senator Monday Okpebholo as the governor of Edo State. Some retrospection right now on the legacies of Obaseki, and then agenda setting and expectations from the government of Senator Monday Okpebholo. I'd like to thank Comrade Christopher Ojekere, politician, public affairs commentator. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Yeah, thank you, Sonny, for having me.
Well, the seeming, well, it's normal when we have people with different views and perspectives on any issue, no matter how laudable it is and all of that. The legacies of Governor Obaseki is a major talking point. But there are those who will say these legacies, they are more or less like a facade. They're just there. It's not something that you can hold on strongly to and will not last the test of time. I don't expect you to subscribe to this, but what are your thoughts along those lines?
Right. I would say that it simply shows the damage lack of information can cause to the psyche of people in society.
So if that information is not there, who is responsible for lack of having that information?
On both sides.
Okay.
Those who were Obaseki's minders are partly responsible because their information dissemination tactics were probably too elitist. And so they did not translate it to concrete terms for the average Edo people and the grassroots. We can't take that away. But on the other side, you even find that some of these critics are people who are supposed to be elites, members of the elites, who are supposed to have channels of going out to ferret information for themselves. They also don't have the information. I mean, we saw what happened during the transition committee. The only time the transition committee from the APC agreed to sit with the transition committee from the PDP, that is from the governor. We saw the kind of tension that characterized that moment. And it was all because of lack of information. You know, the transmission of what has been done and the quality of what has been done to the incoming transition committee created some form of tension, which it shouldn't have done if those who had come to receive those information already had them. I mean, they would have been satisfied with the online copy because they already know that these things exist. They already had them. They didn't have them. So they thought that in a way, technology could be manipulated to create those things because they thought they didn't exist. But I think for the past few weeks now, since Obaseki started his commission, which he ought to have done before now, Edo people are beginning to see that you not only have physical infrastructure, you have systems, enduring systems, you have technology, all of them in place, foundational, that any government can build upon. It's not a mirage. It's not a deja vu. It is right there, palpable, poignant. So Obaseki has left a legacy. We can't take that away from him, irrespective of what you think of Obaseki as a person, irrespective of the volume of hatred you have for Obaseki. You can't take away from him the things that he has done. If you go to physical infrastructure, for instance, I keep myself now within the precincts of the Edo metropolis. I don't even go as far as Ologbo, Orion anymore. What people can see, because I mean the argument is that they don't exist. What you can see, every time you mention the secretariat, they want to downplay it. I said the secretariat in Edo State is the most beautiful working ambience in the country, including the federal secretariat Abuja. I mean, I'm an Abuja boy. That's where I lived. I can tell you about the federal secretariat. I can tell you about each office's federal secretariat. Loaded with files. People don't have anywhere to move their bodies. In Obaseki, so you have state-of-the-art buildings, a perfect commodious ambience for anybody to work. Everyone who have come there have confessed that. He created that, is leaving that as a legacy. By the right side of the secretariat is a cousin, the Edo City Mall, 60 massive retail store. Housing ShopRite. Everybody says ShopRite. That's not ShopRite building. ShopRite is housed in Edo City Mall. And then a huge basement underground. IGR coming from there is enough to pay, a category or a section of the civil service. You have that there. If you go to Iyaro, you have an education hub. I'm giving physical infrastructure that an illiterate can go, an iMac. You have an education hub that is a whole complex of education system. So you have the Ministry of Education house there, you have a Subeb house there, you have the Quality Assurance Board house there, you have library there, you have schools, you have everything inside that hub. State of the art. In fact, everybody who is enemies confess that when Obaseki builds, you cannot improve on the building. Go to the Ministry of Physical Infrastructure. And then where you have the EDOGIS, the Edo Geographical Information System, and go and see the Ministry of Physical Infrastructure. It's state of the art. Then when you leave EDOGIS, go to ADP. ADP before now used to be like, you know, the metaphor of what Edo State government was. It used to be like a pathetic, neglected environment. But go there now, it has come alive. All agricultural experience, whatever you want to do, whether it is research, whether it is data collection, whether it is trainings on, is housed in one place. The building is the best in the country of any such, business transaction. Physical infrastructure. Then you move downward a bit in Sapler Road, go to State School of Nursing. State School of Nursing Sciences. Apart from the physical infrastructure, go in and see the programs, the nursing programs. We are involved in telemedicine. So students are in class in Benin and they are discussing with their professors in the US. They are discussing with their professors from all over the world. Practical terms, medical education. So we are now training in Edo State some of the best nurses we are going to have in this country in the next generation. That's apart from the equipment that universities from around come to use. Having finished with that, he went to School of Health Technology because you need those subsidiary, ancillary services to have a whole full medical experience. So laboratory technicians and so on and so on, they are trained in the School of Health Technology. It's the best in the country.
Okay. All right, let's quickly look at some of the conversations on these legacies, particularly the attraction of investments, attraction of companies and industries. You talked about the Benin City Mall, housing, ShopRite. I've heard people also talk about the Radisson Blue Hotel. I've heard people talk about the refinery, modular refinery in Edo State, in Ologbo, and a host of others. There are questions about the ownership of these companies. Are they owned by Edo State government, or what we see is a facade? There is a deliberate attempt to put wool in our eyes to give the impression that this is owned by Edo State government, whereas this is privately owned. I'd like to get your thoughts on these legacies that we just mentioned.
We had this kind of argument when Oshomole, we'll give that credit to him, combined, Obaseki was the head of economic team then, and then they dreamt an education experience that they have in the form of a university at Iyamo. And everybody was saying, oh, Oshomole has built for himself a private university. But 8 years down the line, everybody in Edo State, can anybody say that university belongs to Oshomole? That's Edo State University in Uzare. So when the opposition is coming in, especially a bereft opposition that has no alternative policy plans and that cannot even understand the trajectory of investment. The people who are condemning investment, now I heard that before they even come in, they're already signing MOUs. So now when they are coming in, you don't just come out to the public and you craft a deliberate falsehood where you don't have documents to support. These things are documented. Why would Obaseki be so foolish to be advertising his own company in the name of the Edo State when he knows he will leave one day? Can he not do it secretly and hide it in Ologbo there? Or do it and say, okay, you people will claim that you are the one that do it. But some paper, so what's on paper? It's not what you advertise that you own. It's what's on paper with the corporate commission. That is the ownership. So I'm happy the opposition are coming in and they will see the papers. We call it Edo Petrochemical Industry. Edo Petrochemical Industry. Does that sound like Obaseki's name?
100% owned by Edo State government?
It's a partnership. It cannot be 100% owned by Edo State government. It's Edo State government and whoever are the partners.
Okay.
Do you understand that? So the partners and government share the shares. And that's the only way you can develop. If you bring the 8 years budget that Obaseki collected from the rental system in Abuja, can he build one ethanol factory? Can he build one Edo City Mall? Can he build one Osio Mall? So if you are waiting until you begin to use the rental 50 small allocation you are getting from Abuja, you will end up paying salaries. And that's why when they were in government, they were not even paying pensioners. Because the moment they pay civil servants and then they take care of all the paraphernalia of office that they have around them, they don't have any money to do anything.
Okay, let's
and so we brought a creative governor who could now think out how to finance projects.
Okay.
You must cooperate with the world for you to go forward with the world.
Let's look at the flip side.
Yes.
November 12th,
yes.
a new government is coming.
Yes.
Forward. What are your expectations?
Not much. Because
Why?
just yesterday...
Because you said the Obaseki legacies, they are foundational.
For any well-meaning government to build on.
Yes.
Now you begin to get very worried when just few days to handing over, some Gestapo police, which has become the norm since APC have been desperate to get into government, came from Abuja to arrest the 4 principal officers that would sign the signature for our Edo workers. The Accountant General and 4 other officers, 5 of them, were arrested. They've been taken away to Abuja. So when you have this culture of people coming from Abuja to come and arrest people in Benin and undermining the jurisdiction, the judicial jurisdiction of those people, and take them to Abuja, you are gravitating towards a failed state, a dictatorial state, where there are no laws. Now, they were arrested, according to them, by EFCC. You have an EFCC office in Benin. They took them to Abuja. Over what? We still haven't got any allegation in the public space. Now, I now read that the governor incoming by November 12th, who is coming to hold forth for the next 6 months, through his media aid.
Coming to hold forth, what do you mean by that?
Until the case is settled in the next 6 months, you cannot say the case is over.
As the governor.
As the governor, for the next 6 months, it's after 6 months that you determine that. Yes, I mean that's the law.
Okay.
So, okay, now,
yeah.
He's through his media aides, has denied that he has any knowledge of those who authorized or maybe invited or cooperated to bring those people to come and arrest our Attorney General.
Okay.
Which was our fear, that by the time he comes, you are going to have alternative governments who will be giving instructions and orders that he wouldn't even be aware of. And that's just, I mean, typical of the APC. I remember when Buhari was being asked concerning what was happening in Benue, and he said he had not, he didn't say, he sent his, was he IG then? He didn't know that his IG went to National Water. He's just hearing now on television. So you're going to have alternative orders. Oshomole will be giving his own, other people will be giving their own.
You're sounding like a prophet of doom. The government hasn't come. You already prophesy negatively onto the government.
We prophesy on antecedents. It is called prognostication. You prognosticate on antecedents. And that's why we're saying when we're to select a candidate in the PDP, we looked at the antecedents.
Okay.
And we're telling the people, look at the antecedent of the person you are bringing in.
Now, Chris,
yes.
Election is over.
Yes.
We are here now. By the 12th of November,
yes,
distinguished Senator Monday Okpebholo will be sworn in as the governor of Edo State.
Good.
What are those things you expect to give priority attention from the new government?
In the law has been part of this. In the law for Edo,
yes,
you should only tweak. Monday Okpebholo should only tweak a few of certain intangible policies which he does not agree with, because as a human being, he would have his own policy direction,
okay, and
he's not supposed to accept wholesale what Obaseki has left. To tweak, I should not expect that he should tamper. We should expect that it was an effusive flow of diarrhea that made Oshomole say that he will kill ShopRite. I should not expect that Monday Okpebholo should carry out that threat and kill retail business in the Edo economy because it's another party. I should not expect that he would demobilize or destroy the secretariat because it's another party. I should not expect that he should demobilize the technological framework that Obaseki has put in place to teach in our schools, to train our civil servants, to do businesses, and all other factors and sectors of our societies. So I should expect that I should build. There's a Marshall Plan. There's a 30-year Marshall Plan for Edo people. It's not for Obaseki. It's for Edo people and for the development of Edo State. So I should expect that he should just continue with the plan. You have had 3 governors in Lagos running with a rolling plan. And Lagos is the better for it. So party doesn't come in here now. And that's the question you are asking me. That you forget about party. I should expect that Okpebholo will say, okay, what is on ground? And then work on it. You can expand, you can build on, you can modify. But you don't destroy. As Oshomole promised. So I should expect that he will build on the security situation that is on ground. And then ask Obaseki, how did you rein in all these people that, look at what is happening now. If I leave here now, 10 o'clock we have a meeting. This coalition of civil societies of Nigeria in Edo State. We have a meeting. We can no longer cope with the incessant daily killings in the name of court war. It has gone beyond court members. It is hitting, bullets are hitting people every day, stray bullets. And we have the police authority in Benin. We have the civil society, civil defense in Benin. We have the army in Benin. We have people who attend State Security Council meeting every day, every week in Benin. So the civil society have to stand up and begin to demand for good governance, accountability, actions to be taken, and so on and so forth. Our action shouldn't just end up with sending minors to jails. We should begin to do positive things for the people. So I am saying that there's no reason. Look at the security network, the security situation. It's become alarming. Even those who voted for them are terrified to death. Because, I mean, their brigandage and thuggery and anger does not discriminate on anybody that comes their way. Once you're not a member, you don't belong. You are a victim, a potential victim. So he should look at the security situation and ask Obaseki. I mean, Obaseki will now be a colleague by the time he leaves, a senior colleague. Senior, how did you handle this security situation so that people can do business in Edo State and people can just go to work and come back safely and move around the city and the city? He should ask. And then Obaseki will tell him what to do. We cannot afford to leave the state in the hands of brigandage and thuggery and killings and mayhems. We cannot afford that. So these are serious matters. You shouldn't listen to those permanent politicians whose job is to manipulate him and begin to get positions and say, using Obaseki hatred to climb. Now they're trying to provide profile solution. None of them have been able to provide solution to the security situation. It's time to provide solution. Have they been able to provide solution to give to the incoming governor to say, this is how you are going to handle the security situation? They cannot, because they rely on those points who are doing those things to have any relevance. And that was what Obaseki adroitly did. Kept them in their place. While the economy of the state was growing and we had peace, we had political growing. ESN was banned by fiat, not by law, by the IGP of police. Now, let the IGP handle the security situation. It's gone out of hand. Is it Obaseki's business? Obaseki is leaving. But you are killing our people. So the APC government seem to just be interested in egoistic, brigandage, megalomaniac, I don't know what they're trying to prove, what point you're trying to prove. We're talking about profiling solutions. And then people are now being killed. You came and banned ESN by fiat. I should expect Okpebholo to bring back ESN by whatever name. Sit down with the vigilantes, sit down with ESN, and say, look, guys, how do we cooperate to take care of this? I should expect him to do that. He needs men to deal with those madmen, as Oshomole called them in the past. So we need for him to look at what is on ground and then build on it and then expand it. Obaseki has not left any bad policy. There's no bad policy. You can say he didn't finish what he started, and he couldn't have finished it in 8 years. No government finishes any dream he has. That means that government is a dwarf. You must have dreams bigger than your tenure. And he put them in public space so that to serve as a guide and as a catalyst to whoever is coming. Okay. So he should finish what Obaseki has started. I mean, take it as far as he can go.
Okay. There's been talk about the outgoing government's part of the transitional committee deliberately hoarding information. And that was a major talking point in some of the meetings that they had to drive the conversation on how the transition is supposed to go. What's the true situation on that?
Well, I can tell you on good authority that the outgoing transition committee were only too anxious. We're only too anxious to reveal information. Why should we hide information? Why should they hide information? I said there are no bad policies. Are you going to hide the good work that you have done, the good foundation that you have laid? They don't hide any information. The information were, because I mean, September 1st last year, we went paperless completely in Edo State. No government business was transacted with files anymore. And everything was put in data, in the computer systems. So people were already used to that. Civil servants were already used to that. So it will just naturally, as is typical of the character of the administration, to document all the things Obaseki had done, and we're just to hand it over, which would be easier. The moment I send you an e-copy, you sit down in the comfort of your room, and you can see every details. So what the transition committee were asking for from the other side was that they want it in paper form.
In hard copy.
Yes. I mean, you can imagine the volumes it will take, but that's what they wanted. So there was no information hidden. In fact, on that first day, they were overwhelmed. I remember the chairman of the transition committee, His Excellency, the former deputy governor of Edo State, Honorable Pius Odubu, saying, well, from what we are saying, it looks impressive, but we want to see the hard copy. I mean, you can trust his judgment. He has been there, so as soon as you can't deja vu him, you can't fool him. As soon as he saw what they were doing, he understood where they were going, and he commended it. So there was no attempt to hide any information. There are too much to reveal. To be honest with you, we can sit down here for 3 hours, and if you allow me to go on break and come back, I'll still be talking about Obaseki's legacy. We run out of it. We who talk about it. We run out of count with Obaseki's legacy. I'm not talking of the solar farm here, for instance. I've not talked about the farms. I'm not talking about the educational institutions.
If you talk about the farms, let me take you on that.
Yes.
So if the farms are working,
yes,
this is the end of year.
Yeah.
I will know this is the festive period.
Yes.
Nigerians love rice,
yes,
and I believe you do too.
Yeah.
I don't know the variety of it,
yes,
but maybe
Okpebholo rice
and all of that.
Yes.
So how much of it do we have to the point that Okpebholo rice is even more expensive than
No, I'm not going to
rice?
sit down here and defend Obaseki on food crops.
Yes.
But I'm talking of...
So in that case, he didn't do well in terms of food crops, to such a point that we could have a bag of rice, maybe rice produced by the state government being sold for about maybe 20,000, 50,000 as the case may be.
I said earlier that you can't do everything. Agriculture, you see, when Obaseki came, his mindset, which we must appreciate him for, was to look at the lean economy a state claimed to be standing on. Many people were richer than Edo State. I mean, people in Edo State were richer than the states. How can you exist 6 million people living on this kind of lean economy? Disaster is going to strike because he understood the trajectory of the oil economy. So he decided to concentrate on what will build our IGRO, so that our GDP will be resourced from our IGRO. And today he succeeded. We have the highest IGRO in terms of growth in the whole country. And we're growing at 140 percent, while the federal government was going at just 4%. So we have a robust IGRO now. And what has been put in place will continue to grow the IGRO to reflect the economy. You couldn't be doing that and at the same time be concentrating on subsistence farming. I'm not saying that's as an excuse. So we have about 8 oil palm plantations. We have the largest oil palm plantation in the whole of Africa. If you check the price of oil palm in the international market, it's higher than the price of petrol. It is that it has not yielded. When it starts to yield, the money will be making alone from oil palm. It's more than everything we'll be making from the federal government in the past 8 years. The one we'll make in a year from oil palm.
But you're an environmentalist.
Yes,
there are concerns about land acquisition that, in a sense, tends to make land inaccessible to communities who own this land, they can't sustain their subsistence farming and all of that. There are concerns about that.
Yes. The thing is, when he was starting, the people in the community did not understand where he was going. So the only interpretation, you know, land is a very emotional thing, was that, oh, he has come to take our land. But do you still hear such concerns now? Much have been put in place to take care of the local communities. So people who own those land now, where you have those farms, are happy. Somewhere, for instance, where you have Saro Farm. Because there are so many things involved in what we call the RSPO, where you have to meet certain universal standards in taking care of the community where you are doing business. And all of that is signed into the MOUs. So you don't have much complaints from the communities anymore. They'll be well taken care of, and they'll continue to be taken care of. Go to Ologbo. We now have what we call cassava millionaires. There's no degree of cassava is produced now in Edo State that the ethanol factory won't swallow. In fact, Edo State cannot produce enough cassava to meet the 2 ethanol factories that we have. So you just produce all your cassava, you go to the company, they buy it all off, harvest it for you, and just give you the money. All around the Ologbo, go there. So it is with time, it has to be a planned economy. It's with time everybody will now know that you have to make sacrifice for the whole to grow before you, the individual, would succeed. So if we build our economy on each other, it never falls. Britain has nothing. It is this kind of cyclical economy that is sustaining Britain. And they don't joke with it when you transgress it. So that's the kind of planning. So as you said earlier, communication may not have been as thorough as it ought to have been. Food crop, the next government. Because, I mean, when you are running a government under a political party, you expect that after you, it should be somebody who understands your vision that should succeed you. And I know people understood that and gave their votes to Okpebholo, who would have succeeded Obaseki. So now that you say Okpebholo is coming, we hope that in the name of being a different political party, it should not come and tamper with what is on ground. It should now say, okay, if Obaseki did not invest much in food crops, and the farms, the other farms are already growing, they are all cultivated and they are already growing, well, let me continue to talk with those people while I face food crop and develop Agbede, Ewu, and Egbete, Ilushi, and our rice. This thing. It's there in the Okpebholo's manifesto, right there, spread out. I mean, it's aware of this situation. So we are serious. People think we are just talking to, no. They know what they are struggling after, why they are condemning and so on and so forth. That's why they jump the moment you say you have lost elections, see all of them jumping parties. Because they don't have any, they don't understand what they are doing.
Okay.
They're interested in themselves.
Let me pause there for a moment, as we conclude our conversation on the legacies of Obaseki and expectations from incoming administration. I have with me in the studio Comrade Christopher Ojekere, who is the chairman of the PDP Equity Committee. That's a new one, so to speak. Does that mean that the PDP is undergoing more bifurcations, as it were, with the government of the day, on the verge of leaving?
No, not bifurcations.
Okay.
Regeneration.
Or diversification.
No, regeneration, renewal, and preparing ourselves for the next battle ahead.
Oh, there's a battle ahead.
Of course. I mean, as a political party, we are always set to give the alternative. And we know that in 6 months' time, we'll be back in government. So we have to get the ground in order.
Okay. Yeah. That's the decision for the courts. Yes. And I believe those matters and they are subjects. But on a final note, in terms of these legacies and expectations from the incoming government, what are your parting words?
I would sincerely insist that the governor should keep party partisanship aside and make friends with the outgoing, sit down with him on a one-on-one basis and have a real discussion about his plan or the plan he had for Edo State. And then when you have the full picture, you can know what to tweak, you can know what to modify, but you have to have the full picture. You shouldn't listen to those hangers-on who will be telling him, this is our party, and then that revenge or vendetta mentality, which we already seen. That will help Edo State. Okay. We are not here for vendetta, we are here to progress the state. Okay. So I think he should have that at the back of his mind.
Okay. Yes. All right, Chris, thank you so much for coming. So it's a delight to have you on the show. Thank you.